Talk about the gift that is Chris Manariti.
Such a gift.
I'm going to put that at the start of our episode now.
Yeah, good.
Excellent. Did you do your hair for this, mate? Haven't got rid of those greys yet. Oh, look at this. They won't be able to see those biceps if they're not watching the YouTube channel. They're just going to hear you laughing, and I'll say it right now.
Is the microphone all right with this?
The microphone's excellent. Right? You've done well. You've done well, mate.
Good.
Those biceps look good. Got some extra arm curls.
Always.
Yes. Guys, you got to check it out. You got to watch the first 20 seconds on YouTube. G'day, everyone. My name is Big Red, but you already know that. Welcome to the Real Dad Movement podcast. We've got an amazingly delicious guest today. Not sure if that's the terminology. Is that what you prefer? You use that word a lot, Mr. Christopher Manariti.
Yeah, luscious lips, they call me.
Luscious lips. Welcome to the show, champion. How are we? How's your day been so far? Yeah,
good. Rest day is always a good day. Spend it down at the beach with the kids. So they're falling asleep now. So perfect time to jump on the podcast.
Oh, lovely. No more Nintendo DS for the little man? Is that his birthday present recently? What's that?
Well, I say he's asleep, but he's playing it and she's asleep.
What's that show that we're going to start a TV show? Is it Bad Decisions by Good Parents?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
I love it. You can have it, but just
that's right.
Get off.
Absolutely. Look, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. That's it. We'll see you next week. So thanks for joining us, Chris. Mate, what an amazing journey. I've known you for a while now. And Chris, for those who may not know, is one of the top athletes in, the Southern Hemisphere, to be fair. And Chris competed at the Down Under Championship, which was in Wollongong, previously known as Regionals. It's where the best athletes and some from international come to compete, throw down, showcase their wares, so to speak, and a lot of hard work. Not 3 months, not 6 months, years goes into that moment, that experience. And I should know, I've been there, and that's certainly not in a toot my own horn light. I wore lots of red tights, and there's some eyes that will never be healed because of that. So I do apologise, guys, but I can't take it back. Those tights are still real. They exist. Like
it's healed my eyes.
It's healed. It's healed. You're right. There we go. So
gave me the light.
Well, it depends on how you look at it, I guess. And when I say it, I'm not talking about parts of my body. I'm talking about the circumstance of a large man out on the floor wearing red tights. This isn't about what I do on Friday nights now. Chris, I'd love to start with you, mate, and what got you into CrossFit, which starts, I believe, in the army, and your experience, some of the values, the principles, the disciplines that can come with that, which would be awesome for you to initially start off and share with all of us, mate, those watching or listening, your experiences with the army, because we know the army, know what it is, but a lot of us haven't been there and done that, so to speak, in the trenches and going through what looks like a pretty disciplined period of people's lives. So talk to us, mate. How did it all start with yourself leaving school, or whenever you left school, getting into the army, and then progressing through and obviously starting your CrossFit campaign and career?
Yeah, well, so it all started back in, I think it was early 2008 or mid 2008. I was doing my half yearlies for year 12, and I had no idea what I wanted to do once I got out. I'd done a few work experience weeks with like trades, and I did carpentry, mechanics, and I can't remember something else, even like a chef and cooking and all that sort of stuff. And it just never resonated with me, and I just never wanted to feel, I just felt like I didn't want to go down that path. And basically a couple of weeks after finishing all those weeks of work experience, a mate that I used to go surfing with, he, funny enough, got drunk, rang the defence hotline and signed up to go do a session and get an interview, him and his mate. And so they went and did that and ended up getting in. And I just thought, well, what a great opportunity to follow in their footsteps. I looked up to them. They were older than me as well. So, and I always went surfing with them, but every morning we'd be down at the beach. So I took in what they had done, and about a year later, so that brought us into 2009. I said that if I get in, then I was going to leave school, and if I didn't, then I'd finish year 12. But I ended up getting accepted, and the process moved quite quickly. So that was like as I started year 12, and I pretty much left straight away. I sold my car, used that money to live off to train, and it was July I ended up enlisting and did my initial training down in Wagga at Kapuka. And from there, basically my life just turned completely upside down. I was just a little surfy boy from Bateman's Bay. I remember sleeping in that bed thinking, what the fuck have I done? Like, as soon as we got off the bus, they were into us, just yelling at us. We're all scum. We're all at the bottom of the food chain, all that good stuff. And I remember that first night going, oh, this is going to be hard. Like, what am I doing? Am I going to do this? But I'd never been one to quit. So I stuck it out. Just everyone was saying, get through the first 2 weeks and just remember that it's a game. And this was not what the army or the real army was like. So long story short, got through it all and stuck it out. And I ended up being posted out to Brisbane in Enoggera, and I was in cavalry. And being in the army sort of thing, mentality, we're all 6 foot tall and bulletproof, but for some reason we're all shit kickers. Like the way that the discipline worked, I look at it now and I just laugh. It's like they bring you up to be such a, you're here to fight wars. You're the best of the best. But then when you do something wrong, you're scum, you're below us, you're this, that. Like it's a mentally screwed sort of way to bring people up.
What is cavalry? What's cavalry? Can you explain that as well quickly?
Well, we're not riding horses these days anymore. It's only the old guys that do that sort of stuff. So I ended up being a commander of an ASLAV, which is it's an 8-wheeled looking tank, so to speak. If anyone here was cavalry and they heard me say that it's an 8-wheeled tank, they'd probably hate me because we're not tankies. We're cavalry. We're a completely separate entity. Everyone hated that. Everyone, we're not tankies. We're cavalry. We're the tip of the spear.
That's right.
And, we were basically. They say we're on the front line. We're the recon sort of stuff.
Yeah, okay. And why do you, just before we continue on with your journey in going through the army, why do you think right at the start there they do that? Is it to grill and gruel and weed out the weak or something? Or like, why is there that intimidation and that sort of level of command and authority from the get-go?
I think it's more like everything they do is very old school. Like there's only when I left in 2016 were they starting to bring in new things, like mental wise. And the way they seen it was they like to break a person down to rebuild them from their foundations up. So everything that you've gone through, they just like to make sure that they nut all the crap that you've been through out. They don't want you to deal with, or they don't want to deal with all the stuff that you've experienced in life already, because this is what they want you to experience. And basically someone's easier to build from the foundations up than it is with someone who's already got a full glass.
Yeah, okay.
That's the way I've seen it anyway.
That sort of makes
sense. It does weed people out. If someone has already got a full glass, like people left within the first couple of weeks. Christ, we had people leave within like 4 weeks left. So like you got a month to go. Just stick it out. So
wow, yeah. There you go. Well, I guess right or wrong, it does make sense that they would put things like that in place, I guess. But look, mate, you get stationed in Brizzy and you're spending some time there. What happens next?
So being in the army mentality, everyone's at the gym. Everyone wants to be that 6 foot tall and bulletproof kind of guy. I started hitting the gym with the boys. I mean, when I joined and when I got out of employment training, I was 67 kilos, I think I was, and running a 2.4 kilometer run in under 8 minutes. Like I couldn't imagine doing that sort of stuff now, but that wasn't the cool thing. You can't flex cardio. So everyone was down at the gym, getting buff, getting big, back tries and buys, all that sort of stuff. And I think I did that for about 3 years until it kind of, I realized that it was becoming a waste of time, in the fact that I was getting all these gains and I was putting on weight, and I started to lift more weights and get stronger, but then we'd get sent away for 6 weeks, and then I'd go back to the gym and I was back at square one. I said, what am I doing this? Like, I'm just going back and forth. It's like Groundhog Day. Every couple of months, it was just Groundhog Day. So I think it was about 2014 or 2013. A mate signed up to a CrossFit gym and fell in love with it, and then he dragged me into it. And I remember, I think I did the first CrossFit workout I ever did was Fran, and the 21-15-9 pull-ups and thrusters at 42 kilos. And man, it took me like 15 minutes. Now I do that in like under three or under 2.5 minutes now.
Yep.
And I remember doing that and just wanting to throw up. I was dying, but the funny thing was, like, I just felt so good. I had my protein shake afterwards, and I just felt really good. And so I continued it and I stuck it out. And what I noticed was that when I went away and then came back, I hadn't lost anywhere near as much, or gains as you want, however you want to put it, compared to what I did when I was isolating and doing bodybuilding stuff. So that kind of just went into like a full-time thing, and I tried to do it every day, but it was hard when I first started. It was like once every week. I think that was enough, and I was sore for the rest of the week, too scared to go to the gym.
Excuse me.
God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me. Apologies. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? That whole concept of putting muscle on and looking buff and looking the goods. But obviously, there's a huge element, I'd imagine, to endurance and conditioning with the army. And sounds like, mate, you found a perfect blend in starting CrossFit to mesh the two, putting on some muscle and getting or retaining your fitness as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of got me a bit hungry to show everyone else in the army, because it works so well with the what we do in the military as well. So it helped in every aspect of our careers, and that's when I became I guess it would be a personal trainer, and I then became responsible for 300 and something blokes, basic fitness levels, and that's basically where I fell in love with fitness, was back around there in 2014. So it was cool. I even got to put the Prime Minister through a session, which was pretty sick. The man was Tony Abbott back then. He was fitter than half the boys that we had. It was embarrassing.
Wow. Oh, jeez. Yes. Yeah, well, he does. I think, yeah, well, it looks like I remember pictures and that sort of stuff floating around of him in his Speedos. Not sure why it's the only memory I have of our previous Prime Minister.
Exactly. Anyway. That's the memory.
Seems like he kept pretty fit, but that would have been pretty funny to watch.
Yeah, it's great.
Hilarious. So look, you started training people, PT, and looking after, sounds like a fairly large amount of crew to get them up to speed and up to scratch. What happened from there? Like, was it CrossFit started to take priorities, or things happened and you didn't feel like you wanted to be part of, like, how long were you part of the army for? And what made you decide to move on and look at different part of your life or different career?
So basically that was kind of the turning point. So I'm very thankful for my mate to introducing me to CrossFit, because that was kind of the turning point for me with the military. I started to notice that especially our core, we were very stuck in our old ways, and that's why I became the personal trainer, to change the mentality on fitness and what we do as a whole. And it worked. Like, I became very respected in that regard for very good sessions and keeping people's standards. I know it's a very minimal standard, like it's a very easy standard to hold, but a lot of people didn't want to do that. And I was just very good at motivating those people to stay above that standard. And basically it kind of got to the point though where I started to realize it was good for the soldiers and the people around my age, but the people who were above me, like the hierarchy in that, like they started cheating their basic fitness assessments whilst I was running them, and it was just to get themselves over the line. And I remember I ended up catching one out catching a guy out, and I was like, no, I'm not going to hide this or say that you've passed. Like, he put down a time that was on the run I knew he didn't get. I watched him cross the finish line. I knew the time that everyone had to get, and he crossed that line after that time. And I ended up putting it forward, and he got stuck actually because that stopped him from being promoted, and he got stuck in his role for quite some time because of the cheating. And it kind of made me realize that it was happening a lot more. Guys weren't even participating. And then because they were in that position of authority, they could sign themselves off. And I just hated that mentality from higher, when that we're supposed to look to them for respect. And I tried my best to change it and get everyone involved. We had a massive hanger that was being used for nothing. Like, there was nothing in it. And I got Alpha Fit involved, and they were ready to fit it out and rig up the whole hanger with cages and everything and barbells, a whole CrossFit gym setup, essentially like the one at CrossFit Raw Commando, funnily enough. And I put it through to the committee, and every soldier was on board with it. And we had a lot of money in the soldiers' bank, which is supposed to be for us. And it got knocked back because the warrant officers and the older guys wanted to spend it on a function and spend it on alcohol and piss, and like on this one night, and whatever. And I tried again and again, and it just didn't work. And it just got to a point where I just started to realize I wasn't going to make a change in there, but this is the path I wanted to go. And I even made the intermediates for Waterpalooza. And so I put it forward to try and get sponsored by the Army as well, to go on, to go over to Miami and compete. And they just didn't recognise it. They didn't know what I was talking about, and they just didn't care. So that was kind of the end of it for me. And I continued to be away from. I forgot to mention that whilst all this was happening, I found my wife, and we had two beautiful children, and I missed everything. I missed all the first steps, first birthdays, first words, and they weren't the greatest of pregnancies, because I was a positive blood type, and my wife, she's a negative blood type, and the kids become positive blood type. They got my blood type, and her body just was fighting it as if it was an infection. So the pregnancies were horrible, and they just didn't care. And I was just away a whole lot of the time, and it just wasn't healthy for us. And so I had to start thinking about the family, and I decided to get out in 2016. And well, mind you, I spent 4 years prior to that trying to transfer, but I was too valuable to them, so they didn't want to let me leave the Corps. So I decided to leave the Defence Force altogether, and that's when I became a plumber, or an apprentice plumber.
Yeah, well, that's quite a story too, mate. But that's crazy. So now I know where the term "fat cats" comes from. Yeah, it sounds like to me you're in an environment that, this isn't judgment, this is pure observation from what Chris has told me. You're in an environment where people are looking to skip the system, especially those in power and a higher level of authority, in which they feel it's their right to not hold a bare minimum standard, which from the sounds of things, like you said, is fairly achievable. That's pretty toxic, mate. That's pretty poisonous. And you doing your due diligence and being fair across the board and being structured and disciplined in what they've trained you to do ended up backfiring, because it caught someone out who was in a higher role. And I'm sure, things would have spread around. And from that position, it's gone from, well, we're not going to let him leave, and we're going to make it very hard for him as well, which they wouldn't even let you transfer. It's really too valuable, yet they wouldn't even take some of those suggestions.
Yes, it was a very stressful time, especially the whole. I was declining promotions as well, because if I knew that if I took the promotion, then my feet were concreted and set in stone in that position, and they definitely weren't going to let me leave.
Wow.
And there was the whole trader mentality. I was a trader because I wanted to leave. So I was like, well, if you don't let me transfer and stay, like, I'm still an asset. If you don't let me transfer to something else, I want to stay in the Defence Force, but I'm just going to leave if you don't let me go. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it worked, and I just got out of there. I had to do what was best for me and what was best for my family, and yeah, and I wouldn't take it back at all. Like, all that sort of stuff gives me the drive now, because I know, even though there were hard times and there was a lot of shit that went on that I wish I didn't do, and the person that I was. I still look at that now, and I know that it's like you talk about the two sides of the coin. I can see that two double side now. Like I can see that side that's not who I want to be, and I know what that creates. So now at least I can consciously push and try to be the person that I want to be.
Oh, definitely, mate. And you know what? Not to shift gears, but it would appear to me, even from a metaphorical or philosophical point of view, many people in their lives probably have similar scenarios to yourself. Not in the army, not in being controlled, manipulated, but in restricting themselves and remaining a part of an environment that obviously isn't serving them anymore. Which I feel happens to a lot of people in today's world, mate. And they settle, they accept it. That is their life. It's what they do. And they've got that little bit of bitterness or resentment where everything is about cohesion and relationships. And you want to get that win-win, even if there's a period of slight compromise. A win-lose or a lose-win, no one wins in the end. And credit to you, man. That's a lot of respect, especially that environment. There'd be a lot of pressures, like you said, the trade of this, that, and the other, to try and get you to conform instead of living your truth. And credit to you, mate, for sticking to your guns and coming out the other side, because if you didn't, mate, you wouldn't have met me.
Exactly.
But,
that's 100% right.
Yeah, it's right. So I'm sorry for that. No, I'm just kidding. So look, mate, you started your plumbing, and talk me through it. Where are we at now? Just before we dive into the CrossFit and what you've just competed in, which is phenomenal. But where are you up to now with your career as starting as a plumber? Like where are you at now?
Yeah, so coming from the drive from the military and knowing that I was always going to have a boss. If you look at the military, there's someone always above you, no matter how far you push. If you were from, you joined when you were 16 and then you were in until you were 60 for the forced retirement or whatever it is when you turn 60, it doesn't matter how great of a soldier you are, you always have someone above you. And that's why I went into a trade, because I knew a lot of guys from school who went into the trade industry and were making quite a lot of money being out on their own. So it was either a choice of becoming a electrician or a plumber. They were the two that I wanted to do. And I ended up getting a plumbing job, and I took that straight away, and we moved from Brisbane to Canberra to start all that. And yeah, ever since I started, I was keen from the start. I was the only guy who wanted to do overtime. Everyone was laughing at me. They're like, "Oh, you'll get over it." Like, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, this is sick." Like in the army, I never got overtime pay. It's like it's actually come to me that I can work harder, and the harder I work, the more money I get. I was like, "This is sick." I was like, I never got that before. It was just service allowance. Work 2 weeks straight, night in, day out. Like you don't get any more money. You're just stuck on the same wage. Now it's like I do 9 hours, I get a bit extra cash. It's good. And so that got me really excited. And then I started hearing about like cashies and what it was like to be out on your own and how much money you can make being out on your own. And I started like, I'm going to do that straight from the start. I think it was in my first year being there. I knew I wanted to do it. But obviously it was going to be a long journey. I needed to learn basically how to cut pipe. Like I was back at the bottom. So that was a bit shitty, but ended up getting through it. And now I'm a fourth year apprentice, 4 years on. And I've already started my own business, and I'm just doing for the time being, drain clearing, as I don't need my license or to be a fully qualified tradesman. So I'm getting the head start, building a client base now so that I can basically, when I'm ready to leave and I am fully licensed, I'm not just going out into the wild with just hopes and dreams. I'm actually set up and ready to go. And it was funny because as I'm doing this, I know what I want for my family and I know what I want from my kids. And the only way I'm going to do that is by working for myself, because I know the harder I work, the more rewarding it is for me. And that reward doesn't get split. That doesn't go to someone else or that doesn't go to another company. That goes to me, and a little bit obviously goes to the tax man, but that's obviously life and there's no avoiding that. But already it's it's funny. People just get upset by that. And and it's exciting. Like I've had one guy ring me up saying, you're not even qualified yet. You shouldn't be doing this. I've already had people ring me up saying, they're pissed off that you're doing this sort of stuff on your own. And I was like, that's sick. Great. It's like, they know who I am. They know what I'm doing. And I know that I'm not doing the wrong thing. I've gone and checked. I was like, you need to tell him to go look at his stuff. It's like, he's obviously just upset that I'm a 4th-year apprentice and I'm just starting to kill it. And he's been in the trade for how long? And he's making nothing. And I even had my boss come out to site, and he said to me that he actually said he was disappointed in me. And I said, I don't understand what for. And he's like, oh, you've started your own business, and you're going out on your own, and you didn't tell me. And I was like, you of all people. He was in the military as well. He was in the Navy, and I said, you of all people should have known, like, or should know better. Like, I'm not going to make it working for this company. Like, I'm always going to be under someone, unless he's going to decide to pay me $1 million a year. I'm not going to get what I want for my family and for myself. I said, I need to do this on my own. And I said, and he's like, I remember when I did the interview with him, I told him from the start that I wanted to start my own business and get out there. And he's like, that's great. We love that. That's really good. And all of a sudden I started doing it, and it's just like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm really disappointed. It's like, you're disappointed that I'm doing well for me and my family? Like, okay, no dramas. I'll see you on the other side.
Isn't that, mate? Wow. Isn't that amazing? And it's that whole tall poppy syndrome. I don't know. I'm sure it doesn't reside just in Australia, but far out, man. It's that cracks me up. And this isn't stereotyping any trade or industry, but you are certainly someone that I see that can shake up the industry and put a very clean, honest, transparent line and line in the sand, and have that new face that really spins it around on its head and delivers maximum value. Not just, and again, guys, this isn't stereotyping or judging, but really be clean and sharp in more ways than one, in the position that you're in now, coming from where you were, with unbelievable dedication and drive and commitment, which I think comes from not just what you had in the army, but an intrinsic value that I absolutely believe is there. And then when you showcase that, when you had that initial support, someone tries to push it down, especially a superior, open and close parentheses or inverted commas, sorry. And when you look at that stuff, it's like, that's amazing, isn't it? Because I feel like when I see that stuff, you should be looking at them and going, well, don't you enforce your own insecurities because you weren't trying to do that as a 4th-year apprentice, or don't you try and put it over me and pull me back from my own goals and dreams and ambitions. This is your life, mate. You should be able to do whatever you want, and good on you for doing that. And if that means shaking up the industry, then so be it.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't realize I was going to start shaking it. That was the plan. But even I was going to start shaking it up now already. So I haven't even fully gone out on my own, and it's already started. So, well, be careful what you wish for, really. Whatever you think, you turn it into reality.
Well, credit to you as well for that, mate. And the thing is, and please don't take this the wrong way, guys, if some of you listening or watching this do connect or resonate with these terms, but geez, they're a joke. Work smarter, not harder. Passive income. Like, if you want to really achieve in your life, get rid of those two things right away. Like, people think of an investment property as passive income. No, it's not. It's not passive income. There's lots of things you need to actively do and engage with to make sure that, and you're not going to retire on 1 or 2 investment properties. That's not the way the world's turning. So when it comes to work ethic, which absolutely sounds like you've got a huge amount, Chris, which we've seen. I mean, I see you and I train with you, but when it comes to work ethic, work harder and smarter, harder and smarter. You need to put the time in. You need to be flexible, strategic, and be malleable in your approach to the setbacks, with the strategies that will work for you, the lines of service that you can dive into, like you've jumped into jetting, which seems to be an undernourished or underutilized market for serving households. That's amazing. Good on you, mate, for doing that. And it is exactly that attitude and that outlook in working hard and earning your stripes, and then being in the environment of not necessarily like-minded people, but the environment of opportunity through experiences, through what you're doing right now, and engaging how people are approaching you. Like I said, people are getting their nose out of joint. It's like, awesome. That's a good sign. myself included. Like when I run ads or do things with my dads or certain things, and I get a few people, I don't know why, honestly, because of the vision of what I want to do, but bagging or slagging, or what about us dads that have been killing it for 20 years? Awesome, mate. Good for you. You know, you want a pat on the back. You want me to get away from the helping dads who need it to give you a pat on the back. You're rock star. You know, that the more you have of those, it's funny. I see the more critics, skeptics, which there's never been statues erected to, mind you as well. So don't be one, people, if you're listening. The more you have, it seems like the more you're on the right path. Or you could almost connect those two. But that's and you're doing all of these things, mate. Which will shift gears a little bit now and go into your CrossFitting career. You're doing all these things and making all these progressions whilst you've developed yourself, and you've just competed in one of the biggest comps in the country.
Yeah, which is still surprising. It's still so surreal that I was there, and I still look at the pictures and that's not me. Like, it's a crazy thought to think that I actually got there. And you know, like, I started that CrossFit, and I remember, I think it was, where are we now, 2019. So back in 2014, and I was sitting there and I watched my mate compete in the first Open, and they did the whole Friday night lights, and it's like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to compete. And it's like, I can do better than that guy. I can definitely do more than him. Like, and so I ended up, because I had the kids and the family, I didn't want to be away too much because of the army took up a lot of time. And what I ended up doing was buying basically a whole gym, and I kitted out the garage. And my wife didn't like it too much, but we started believing in street parking more than she liked. And so the whole garage turned into a gym, and I just went at it, and I just went hard every day, and did my best. And I didn't have a coach, and I didn't have mirrors or anything like that. I just sat there with YouTube and filmed myself. It was a bit, I don't know, I'd hate for people to walk in on me filming and then looking at myself. It's not ego, anything to do with ego. It's just trying to better myself. But I look at it now, it's funny. Like, it's a funny little stick man trying to lift some big weights.
We need some of those videos. You need to show it. We need to get some of those videos of it. Have a look.
I actually think I just found like the USB the hard drive that had all my old sort of stuff on there. So
wow. I'll try and attach some of this to this episode at the end. Best fails. I mean, best lifts.
Oh yeah, there's some good fails in there. I think I put it up on Facebook. I remember we just bought a new car, and I dropped, like, trying to do a snatch, and I remember dropping like 80 kilos on the back of my head, and it like squished the barbell, squished my head between the barbell and the mats, and then the bar went flying. It was almost going into our car, like a brand new car. And
wow.
It was great. Yeah.
Real,
So yeah, I started in the garage, and that's where it basically all began. And I started getting like-minded people as well from the army, and I'm still best mates with them. They came down. All of them came down except for one, who unfortunately he just bought a house, so I understood money was tight and whatnot. So they all came down for the Down Under Championship, and it was great to have us all back together. And I remember we started a thing called Fucked Fridays. So every Friday we just come up with the worst, longest, grueling possible workouts that we could think of.
Yep.
And just nutted it out until it was dark. And these workouts went for hours. Like, I remember doing the first one we ended up doing was well, we got introduced to like burpee broad jumps. I was like, oh, well, how far can we take this? It's like, oh, we'll do a couple of 100 meters. This is like, oh, we'll do 500 meters. Like, oh, fuck, let's just do a K and see how long 1 kilometer of burpee broad jumps is going to take.
It's almost basically 1,000 reps, I guess, if you jump about a meter and a half.
Oh, it was ridiculous. It was. I remember wearing gloves and everything, and my hands were still like all grazed up, and yeah, it was good fun. And then it kind of was just the birth of something crazy. And it's like, I remember like we started filming it as well, and I'll become like the Dave Castro and would start surprising the boys of what we're doing. It was funny because I watched him do the announcements for the Opens, and I was like, I was doing that before you. Like,
yes.
So it was awesome. It was kind of the birth of pushing myself mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And seeing how far I could take the body.
Yeah, and you've done that, and you did that for, well, you're still doing it now, obviously, mate, but 5-year period, and that's got you to being one of the fittest athletes in the in the country, which is amazing, mate. And well, two things. What was it like? How was that experience competing down at Wollongong? And what did you learn over the 5-year period and the culmination of all your hard work in that moment?
So the experience, it was out of control. Like, I still can't put it into words of how good it felt to finally, tick a box that was a long-term goal. And what I actually was worried about was like it going so quick, because it was going to be something that I wanted to take in. And yeah, being present for every moment whilst I was there it was great. Like, taking it all in, taking like the crowd being there and all the athletes who were there to help push you, and like, it was undescribable. Like, the feeling inside, it just ignited a new person in me to keep pushing and see how far I can take this again. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever thought about having a goal past regionals, but now it's like, well, why not? Like, why not try and go for the games? Like, what's the point in getting here and then just stopping? Like, I don't want to do that. I've started a business and I'm ticking that goal. That's going to be a progression sort of thing, and I'm doing it. And I've already ticked this CrossFit goal, which I've started so long ago. It's like, I can't just stop and give that up now. So I think now I just want to keep pushing that to the limit and see how much better I can get. I forgot what your other question was. What was it again?
That's okay, mate. That's why that's why I'm here. It's not just you on your own. I've got your back. So if you ever need, mate, please let me know. The other one was, looking at what you've done, what you've achieved, which, like you said, that moment, it's amazing. It's surreal. It feels like it's slow-mo, but here we are. It's a period of time after it's already been and gone. The other one was, what did you learn? And what I mean by this is, I want to get your views, your beliefs, your outlook on the journey versus the destination. Because most of the time, people focus so much on the destination. If it does, which can change in our lives many times, if the destination does or doesn't come, is it greater than the journey, and who have you continued to become in that path over the last 5 years?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, all the motivational stuff that I read, and I got into, spiritual sort of mentality on CrossFit and goal setting and all that sort of stuff along my CrossFit journey as well, because I knew it had to be something more than just how far I can push my body, because your mind's got to let you push your body. Your mind's the one that controls everything. So I knew there was another barrier that I had to break mentally before I could push my body physically. And during that process, you hear it all the time. It's like, oh, it's all about, like all these Gandhis and that. It's all about the journey, not the destination. And it just flew over my head. I was like, no, I know where I want to be, and that's where I want to be. I don't give a fuck about the journey and how hard it's going to be. I'm just going to be there. Yeah. And I said it to you the other week, when we were training, when I was training that Sunday afternoon on the deload before the comp, that I put on that motivational mix that I first listened to in the garage. And I remember sitting there, taking it all into my warm-up, picturing myself out on that floor. And all of a sudden, like, that was the moment it just clicked. And I was like, I know exactly what they mean now about the journey. I was like, holy shit, the journey's been sick. Like, yeah, it's had ups and downs. Like, I wanted to quit, it started to impact the family a bit with the competing side. Like, I've got to be in the gym. I've got to be in the gym. But now I've learned to involve the kids. They're a bit older now and they can jump on in, and it's great. But playing that mix again just took me, it was like my life flashed before my eyes. It was just everything on that journey come back and hit me. And I was so happy in that moment just there. I was like, I don't need to go. I even said, I don't need to go. Like, I could pass it off and decline the invitation, say, oh, I'm injured or I'm not coming. And I'd still be so happy, because I know that I can do it. And it all kind of came and hit me and the whole reason why I started in the first place was because I had the mentality at the start, like the army gave me, it's like, you know, you're a shit kicker, you're this, you're that, but you're 10 foot tall and you're bulletproof, you know. It makes you think, or it made me realize my goal again, which was anyone can do it. And if you think you can't, just have a look at who I was and who I am now. It's like, and I know if I can do it, anyone can fucking do it. And that's not a word of a lie. And that's not me trying to be egotistic or anything like that. Like, anyone can do anything as long as they put their mind to it. And I think once you realize that getting there is what creates you, not wherever it is you're trying to get to, you know, once you realize that, you're instantly happy. And I still can't get the smile off my face from thinking about how far I've come. I'm not thinking about that weekend and how I performed or who I was with or how it all went down. I don't care. Like, I really don't care, because I know that I can get there. Now it's just a matter of what's this next journey going to be like. I was so keen to get back into the gym and see how far we can take this again, and how fun that's going to be and how good that's going to be. So
Unreal.
I hope I can explain it good enough so that people can understand that it really is about the journey, and you find happiness within that and not in what you're looking for. So the old happiness with what you've got, and not what you want.
No, absolutely. And that's a phenomenal belief to have within yourself, mate. And I get it. And look, I got 30.3 in year 12 in my HSC exam. So I'm sure everyone else out there got it.
Well, at least you sat yours. I didn't sit mine.
It's time we'll never get back. Maybe I should have just gone to the army for a while. But yeah, absolutely. Because my next question is that belief and those values you've got, would you have had them if someone came to you at 2014, 4 weeks after you CrossFit, and said, "Hey, mate, I've got a spare ticket at regionals. Do you want to go compete?" Would you still have those values you've built up over the last 5 years?
No,
Of course not.
No way.
And that's where it's, yeah, exactly. And that's where it's what Chris is saying, and it makes absolute sense, mate. You hit the nail on the head there. It is not a singular moment that defines us in our lives. It's the echoes, the drop in the ocean, the ripples. It's what that continues to help us form, mold, fortify ourselves into becoming consistently, day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out, becoming who we want to be in this life, and what that looks like, not just externally, where we live, what we do for work, what our jobs are, but internally, because all that stuff on the outside, none of that's going to be around forever. It's none of that's going to be around for as long as you are around. And that's exactly what you do. And what you said then as well, mate, look, you've achieved that. That's great. You've ticked that box. That's awesome. But what it is, that is a symbolism for how you've shifted and changed your life, which is going to carry you into business, into fatherhood, into the next goal, because it never ends. I feel there is no end destination, because once you achieve that, like once you went down and competed at regionals or down under championships, you're not rolling over tomorrow and retiring and the rest of your life's just sitting down. You know, there's more to do. Yeah. Let's go again. We've got different stages in our lives as well. So that was awesome, mate. And that really, it was great for me to hear as well, and help me remember and remind myself of what's important. And it's not always just the perceived definitive moment of this is success to me. It's a collective of, like you said, the ups and downs and who you continue to forge yourself into. And here we are, we're looking at doing programming together again, and I'll try and keep up. If I get half the result you get, then I think you're on par, because you should dominate and destroy me now. So if I take twice as long as your workouts are about right, you're in good shape. But look,
well, that's what I did want to say as well. Like when I had my goal of, you know, saying that if anyone can do this, then I can. Like, and the goal is up in the gym as well, to inspire others. And I want to say that I never had any specific training. There was never any. I never went to you and said, write me something up, until like the last 6 weeks before the comp, obviously, where I was like, shit, I've got some weaknesses. Can we just fix these up? Like, when it needed to be specific. But for the 5 years beforehand that led up to that, I did that through classes, like CrossFit classes that were programmed for everyone. And Ben Bergeron's Comp Train, I did that for about a year and a half. And that's just general programming for everyone to do better, all round. That's not targeting anything specific. So I definitely want to hit home that, even if you think that, you need specific stuff, because I was very into that. Like, I was like, I'm not going to do any online thing that, is generalized or anything like that. That's not going to help me. Like, that's just a load of shit for someone to make money. It's like, no, but it's not. Like, it's in how you approach that training, and mentally and physically. Like, we see it day in, day out in the class. Like, you can attack a workout and get nothing from it, or you can attack the exact same workout with a different mental state and gain a lot from it. Like, so that's what I've definitely learned. You've got to have a intent for every movement that you do within that one workout. Have an intent for that workout, have a goal for that workout, and have an intent and a goal for that one movement within that workout. And that's how it's done. And that's how from the physical and the, training side of things, if that's your goal. But, it can come from anything. And I just think that it all does come from how you think about it and how you think it's actually helping you. So if you think it's generalized and it isn't going to help you, then it's not going to help. It's not going to do anything.
Exactly. Yeah, and you're right, mate. And you know what? It's that outlook. And I don't believe you're talking about blowing yourself out of the water every workout either. It's about purpose. That's something I spoke on one of my other shows once, and purpose and what's the point of doing this, or what can I get out of this? And it's not, I don't feel it's that much more work. This is what I'm doing with this squat clean complex. I'm going to try and shift this here and improve this there. Ask the coach, can you just have a look at my position here? Is this weight? What's this weight like? Can I push a little bit more? And this isn't about, anyone can be an athlete. That's a definition based off someone's viewpoint or opinion. It's about becoming an athlete within yourself and just demanding that excellence, those little 1%ers, which, like you said, class program, you could do a minute of burpees and make it a warm-up or make it one of the hardest things ever, and I did that the other week. I did a minute of burpees as hard as I could, and when I PB'd at 4 reps, it was unbelievable. It's like, it's awesome. I'm nearly under 15 seconds a rep. So but mate, that's awesome. And look, it's been great having you on the show, Chris. A lot of our listeners will know who you are, the local fan base. I just do have one question, not from me. It was sent in from one of our other viewers or listeners in preparation for this. They wanted to know, I've got it written down here. Hi, Chris. Congratulations on your CrossFit Down Under Championships appearance. Quick question, though. How come you didn't ask to borrow Big Al's red tights? From Anonymous. I don't know who that was. Sorry.
You got me all excited. I was like, shit, I've got a fan base.
That's my question. I'm your fan. That's my question.
That's all I need. Just the one red one.
Even though they would.
If you looked at I wore the same brand on the swim event. They just weren't long. They were short. That's right. Had a bit of red on them.
That's right. Absolutely. Awesome, mate. Well, look, final views and thoughts, just wrapping up on, business, life, the adversities, your CrossFitting career, which continues to develop and grow, all of these different things. How have they molded, or what have you taken from them in really shaping you to continue to be the best man you can be, and partner, but father to your kids as well? Because I've got a lot of dads who are listening.
Well, it's a hard one to keep short. I just think you can't be too hard on yourself, and when you fuck up, even with the kids, like, I know it's hard to say this without people knowing, like what you're talking about. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you can't get caught up on it. Like, and even when you do make a mistake in anything, like, you've got to be grateful for it, because that's where you start to, if you actually make a mistake and you feel bad about it, or you have a feeling towards it, obviously that means it means something to you and you want to make a change because of it. And that's how you improve. Like, I stuff up all the time with the kids, and like with discipline, or, they do something, I'm like, but that's not what we want to be as a family, like, it's a great opportunity. There's always a great opportunity there for you to fix something that you wish to have, or fix it about either yourself or what's happening around you. So I think the biggest things for me would be that, you know, you can't, you know, things happen because of you, and things don't happen to you, is the best way to kind of explain it. And I think once I started taking responsibility for everything that I've ever done, or anything that's ever happening to me that I take responsibility for, I think you can learn from all those moments, because you can change anything that happens to you. You have the power to choose your perception on it. So anything that bad that happens now is very easy for me to turn around and say, nah, that's not how I want to see it, or that's not how I want it to be. You know, how can I change that? How can I, you know, change the way that I'm going to approach that, or how you know, or how do I stop that from happening again? So I think I really liked your video about the two-sided coin. That really hits home for me. You know, there is a way to look at things, and it's the way you choose to look at it. And then it doesn't matter, even if you do want to choose the bad side of it, don't kick yourself for it later on, because that's what you wanted to do in that point in time, and you can just learn from it. So, you know, don't be hard on yourself, no matter what. It's shit's going to happen in life, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. You what you want the rest of your life to be. And, you know, like we go through things with my wife at the moment, you know, like the old me and the army mentality sort of stuff. You know, that was me, but now I'm doing this. This is what I am doing now. This is who I am trying to be now. And that's all that matters. Not what you've done, and not who you've been, or, you know, you're not your mistakes. You are who you are now. So I hope people understand that, and I hope that's...
Mate, that was an amazing way to finish our show. And I wrote a note then, because that really hit home with me. You make mistakes and you feel bad about it, that means it means something to you. So then you can go and take that lesson and do something about it. I wrote that down. So I'm going to steal that and put it in one of my quotes and post that on social media.
Alex Rennie.
I'll put a little picture of you in the corner. Powered by Manariti Muscle. That was awesome, man. That was really, really cool. I hope everyone else got the message out of that I did. And you're absolutely right, mate. You know, and it's not about being, I don't believe you're talking about being a control freak and controlling things. It's about liberating yourself from that feeling of being trapped and going, okay, what can I do, physical or not, even in terms of your feelings and your thoughts, what can I do to turn things into a plus and move my life forward in a consistent manner? And that absolutely came through, mate. So you're a legend. Thank you for joining me, mate, and giving me your time. We're doing this on the weekend, so I appreciate it. It's important for yourself and family and kids. Thank God the kids are having a power nap, and Corinne's down in Sydney at the moment with my girls, so that worked out well. But,
no, they're up and going. I was just waiting for them to walk in the door. Like,
Daddy,
I'm hungry.
Yeah. So that's right. So this is the warmer for the crowd. Can we get your son Noah in, who's the real star of today's show, please? And the little champion in Georgia. Look, thanks again for joining us, mate. It's been amazing having you on. This has been one of my favourite episodes by far, and it's been great, mate. So I love what you're all about and what you're doing, and I feel blessed being part of your journey, programming or not, just supporting you, trying to beat you in workouts that'll never happen ever again. And unless we do a 2K row, actually, even then I'm probably still a bit rusty, but it's been awesome, mate. And look, I hope you guys either watching this or listening to this, I hope you got a lot out of this, guys, and really enjoyed Chris's story, where he's at, his time in the army, business, touching on fatherhood and expressing himself as best as he can, using that vessel of physical performance and that drive and motivator for, well, I guess, excellence in all areas of his life. And thanks again for joining us, mate.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Awesome, guys. And have a lovely afternoon, morning, evening, whenever you're listening to or watching this. And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Thanks, guys. Cheers. Okay, we're back. Just Chris gave me a better sign off, and I'll let him sign off on this one. He's embarrassed now.
Am I saying it? I thought you were going to say it.
I thought you were going to say it, but you say it better.
Sorry. All right. And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Good question. Do you always take in a little bit of helium every morning? I don't have the deepest voice, but
I noticed that when I hear myself talking again in videos and stuff. It feels like it. It's that beer, the helium beer. I have into that.
That's amazing. All right, guys, take care. I'll chat to you soon.